Before the video starts, I would like to say something real quick. Now then, before any of you guys say that my voice is fake and I'm using a voice filter, I got the proof that I'm not. I'm gonna play some audio from this motivational speech, and if I am using a voice filter, the audio from the motivational speech should be deep as well.
For prosperity. Say thank you in advance for what's already
As you can hear that the motivational speech is still normal pitch and my voice is still deep. This is your proof right here. Listen closely, this is your proof.
The gratification, the goodness that comes to you, the good feeling.
Anyway,
Helping others.
that's enough of the proof. Let the video begin. Alright, what's up? It's your boy, Renegade X, the one that you love to hate. And I'm back at it again with another podcast. I have two of my friends with me this time. Mike and Bria.
How you doing? I'm Michael.
And I have Bria.
Hey, I'm Bree, aka just a girl who games on Twitch.
Alright, so this topic we are discussing what society wants you to be. Basically, how society is, they try to force you to be a certain way. Like they force you to think, force you to care about certain stuff, force you to wear certain things. So basically it's stuff like that, especially the influence on social media, celebrities, all that stuff with songs they want you or really force you to listen to. Like certain styles. But me, I got my own style. I stepped out of the matrix. Do my own thing. These when people don't see me fit in with society, they look at me like I'm crazy. But I just have a mind of my own. So, what are your guys? You know what I mean? What's your viewpoint on that?
Well, I think there's a lot of different viewpoints that come with society, and one thing that as soon as you told me the subject matter, I was thinking about hive mentality, and what that is basically, you know how in a beehive they have a system, so it's the queen and then the worker bees, and everybody has their job, but there's a solidarity in it. So with people, I find that especially a good example would be with trends. You see people hop on board with whatever the trend is without even really thinking about it, and at first glance it seems like, oh, it's just fun or whatever, but one thing that people don't realize is that it's got a gravitational pull, and it can actually alter how you're thinking and feeling about whatever you're watching based off of how everyone around you is thinking and feeling about it, or how they behave when it happens. So I think that's something that people don't pay attention to, but it's extremely huge. And I had two things about it, how it affects us in a good way, where hive mentality is the same thing that makes children see their parents do something and mimic it, which can be extremely helpful in life. But it also has negative effects because it can work in an adverse way where it's one kid's getting in trouble and another kid sees them getting in trouble and then they do the same. So I was thinking that's the first thought that came to my mind when it came to society.
Mm-hmm. I hear that. Mike, what's your opinion on this subject?
From what I see, it kind of complements our last podcast where we spoke about how people value other people more than themselves. Have low self-esteem, so they're looking for something to value. So they look at these singers or actresses and things like that, and how people view and just kind of flock to them and just want to be around them, and they want that too, so they begin to mimic and act out these people and their behaviors, trying to get the same response. Mm-hmm. So the whole hive mentality that Bree just spoke about is basically the same thing. And yeah, that's pretty much the essence of it, honestly.
That was a really good point that you made, because one of my notes that I made under the subject was the power of influencers in media and society. And I know Renegade had talked about that before we started. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane how much influence one person can have on a mass amount of people. And one of the things that keeps them in that hive-minded mentality is the fact that they're not thinking for themselves. They're not aware of the fact that they're doing that, and they're not aware of the shift of power from within themselves to this influencer or this person that's in the media. And I think that one thing that everyone needs to apply is self-awareness when it comes to society, because society can't speak for you. It can speak for society, but if we really think about it, there's a division between individuals and society. It's made up of individuals, but it's not that. What do you think, Renegade?
Well, first off, I want to apologize if you guys heard a vacuum cleaner in the background. My grandmother is cleaning the house right now.
Ain't nobody mad at her for that.
Yeah, she doing what she do.
Yeah. But, yeah, you're right about that. I remember, when I was younger, this is before I started, learning the stuff I knew now. And I was, fighting low self-esteem, still kind of fighting it today. Yeah, I always used to wanted to follow the trends and all that, stupid stuff on Instagram. Like, they had, Throwback Thursday and, I don't know, Waifu Friday, something like that, stupid stuff. The more I kept doing it, I just kept thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I following society? This is not what I want to do. When I started learning to, think for myself is one song I heard from NWA from Ice Cube. Watch your brother.
Go ahead.
Watch your brother blend dope rhymes with no help. There's no fessing or guessing while I'm expressing myself. It's crazy to see people be what society wants them to be, but not me. Yes. Another thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's alright. Another thing, when I just, started to do things my own ways, when I used to go to church. There was one thing that this pastor said to me. He said, it don't matter how you do it as long as you get it done. When I heard that, I'm like, wow. Cause, like I said, the, education system, that's another thing that, they want you to be a certain way. They want you to do certain things, because there was this typing class. I can't describe the way that I type normally, but all I can say is I do not type that this so-called way they want you to do. And, I think my fingers kind of go all over the place, but it does get the job done. Because I was with my father, and he asked me to search up something on YouTube. I started typing. He said, boy, how you talk that fast? Tried to explain about the teacher class. He said, no. He said, how did you learn to type that fast? And then that spoke to me. I'm like, it didn't come back to what that pastor said. He said, no matter how you do it, as long as you get it done. And after that just spoke volumes to me. In that case. So I stopped following the trends, because in the Smash Brothers game, they put some new character. I'm like, folks didn't care about this character back then, but now they care about it because, he's in the game. So it comes back to, them trying to influence people a certain way to, do stuff.
It's crazy. I remember being in middle school, right? And we had, how especially when you're in school, trends come and go every couple of weeks. I remember this one trend that now I look back and I'm like, that was the dumbest thing ever. You remember how little black girls back in the 90s and maybe even today, I'm pretty sure, they had those little bubbles, little balls in your head, in their head, had the string and the two balls, and your mom twist the crap out of your hair. I don't know if you want me to curse or not, but twist the crap out of your hair and tie it. Well, in middle school, it used to be a thing to like tie them around your ankle and on your shoes and pull your pants, the one side of your pants up and tie that with it and put it on your shirt and all this stuff. And I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I wasn't one of them people walking down the hallway with bubbles on my shoes and I'm holding my shirt together. But what I will say is now that I look back, I'm like, oh my God, how retarded was that? But in retrospect, it's kind of like that with everything. Trends, even though like it just shows you how something so simple and maybe even stupid can become something important to you, even to the extent that you'll change the way you dress or change the way you talk. I know with friends of mine that I have now, they come up with the craziest stuff. Like every couple of weeks, there's a new word. You know, like good example. You know, cap's really big right now, and it's every 5 seconds the word is being used. Imagine that's happening right now in my life for God knows why. And all of these things I know. Oh my God, perfect example. I'm so sorry. I know I'm too passionate about this, but I don't care for Blueface. I'm not going to go into it because I know he has a following, but I just don't care for his music and whatever else. But friends of mine were heavily into Blueface. Thank God it's dying slowly because he's not like the center of everything right now. But like when that was happening, it was pure torture for a person like me who doesn't care. But I saw my friends gathering around and like quoting his lyrics and doing all of this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, why? You know, they're quoting like 2 dicks and fuck. Anyways, I can't. But it just shows you at some point every trend comes to an end. You know what I mean? So it's important that while they're happening, we don't sacrifice the things that are meant to test time while we're in them, like doing these dumb challenges. And I could go on because there's so much material, but you know, I think to support your point, like we should actually like realize what trends are. They're a means to an end, and not necessarily do we have to follow them at all the time. You know what I mean? What do you think, Mike?
I really never cared for trends. I could never really get into them because, one, I was always like super shy, so I just was never really in any of the in groups, so I never kept up with that kind of thing.
The in group ain't
And
that
that's,
basic, but that's okay. Go ahead.
yeah, but they also attract a lot of attention by doing these types of things, the trends and things. I mean, like you said, it attracts people to it. You know, it draws people in, and those in groups are the ones who were doing it and just looked all happy and smiling about all this stuff, and it just drew all the people into them. And I was one of the outcasts, so I never got into trends. I was always just doing what I needed to get by. So,
You know, trends change lives. I really hate to interject there. I just realized something. You know how like a few years ago they had like when Starbucks started coming up with like these crazy drinks, you know? I was one of those people that was like, oh, you know, only Valley girls go to Starbucks and all of that. And then I think I tried the what was it, the unicorn frappe. It tasted like crap, but it was beautiful. And then after that, I was like, well, what else does Starbucks have up their sleeves? And they came up with a bunch of different stuff. And then they came up with their dragon fruit tea. And now it's one of my favorite things. And I frequent Starbucks, and their Danishes are really good. But I'm saying a trend changed that aspect of my life, which it's not a bad thing. But I think that, you know, well, actually, I'm not going to lie. Starbucks is expensive. I pulled up with my friend the other day. She was like, you really just paid $4 for a and I order now Michael, I order now, like, oh, I'll have a grande venti. And I used to be like, oh, why isn't it just small, medium, large? Like, that's, simple, be human. They want to be extra. And now I'm extra. I've got a lot of reflecting to do. But yeah, trends can change. Trends can change our entire setup. That's in a less serious manner, but on a deeper level, it can change a whole lot about ourselves.
Yep.
But along those lines, is that really a trend, or is that just them experimenting to find the next thing to add to their menu? And if they're adding it to the menu as a keepsake, then it's not really a trend. It's just something they were looking for. But like you said, trends are those things that, trends are things that they come up with just to kind of what you said and means to an end. I mean, they just trying to do something to spark that next big thing, and most of the time it doesn't stay. So I mean,
if we're still using Starbucks as an example, these specialty drinks that they make, seasonal and stuff, it's not stuff that they keep on their menu. So dragon fruit, they did, thank God. But for most of the things that passed through there, they didn't. And I realized, like, places like Burger King and different things, like, they're using it as advertisement, which really, if you think about it, that's how businesses use trends. And that was another bullet point on my subject list. How society manipulates the hive mind, because they understand the people who have money and who are in charge and have influence in what we consume, and the media that we watch and experience. They understand how society works and how people work. They understand, like, in advertisement, they hire psychologists, they hire people who study the human mind, because they want their product to be sold to these people, and they want to figure out what's the best way. Like, I don't want to, go on for too long, but I was actually watching this Psych to Go video on YouTube, and they were talking about how music affects us. And one of the things, elevator music is written just specifically for background music. And what it does is, the effect that music has on our brains, it makes our brains malleable, because music affects our emotions. So that's why when we go to stores, and that's why we're in elevators, that's why we're in businesses, they play that music in the background. Or while we're on the phone with maybe AT&T or something like that, they have music going on in the background. It's not for our enjoyment. It actually psychologically makes us malleable, which makes us better consumers, which means when we're walking through Walmart, then we're seeing, I don't know if Walmart plays music, to be honest, but you know what I'm saying. Like, when we're in stores, we see things and we're like, oh, the prices and the different things like that. Like, it makes us more manipulatable, or it makes us more, I guess, I don't know, it makes it easier for them to sell us things. So with that in mind, these things are really designed for that way. Like, trends in itself are a design. It's not necessarily just a thing where it's like, oh, people come up with this stuff and it's crazy and it's random. Like, the design of how trends work and how they affect people is just that, a design.
Yes.
Renegade.
Yeah, what both of y'all just said, that's really marketing right there. So another way. So trends is just another way of marketing. But yeah, like I said, I stepped out of the matrix. I'm able to, think and research things for myself. So I don't have the same thought process like everybody else. Like, they want to be sponsoring this, like, stuff like Gucci, and want you to dress up like these mumble rappers. And like, no, I ain't doing that, because first off, them skinny jeans gonna cut off my circulation, number one, and I'm gonna look stupid. Number two, I ain't wearing no dreadlocks and all that stuff neither. I'm keeping my hair I got now. Keep my hair I got now. And I got my own style when it comes to them too, because what I usually wear, like a t-shirt with a little necklace, got some well-fitted jeans, not no skinny jeans, And not no over baggage, it's just right. Some shoes, some decent shoes, not no shoes just cause I wanna floss off. And yeah,
So
that be about
basically,
it.
you dressed 2005, and that's a beautiful look. Beautiful look.
Yeah, I got different styles. Sometimes, you know, I wear plaid shirt, you know, the little button-up shirts, wear jeans, shoes, wear fedora hat, and I wear my glasses. So I'll be old school with it.
Yeah.
It's. I think that one thing it's good to have evolved into that place where you can be an individual and you're not reliant upon other people to determine what it is that you like and you don't like. But I think that one thing about society is that we're not reaching out to other people who are caught in, we'll call it the matrix, because it's like, you know, everybody has the capacity to think for themselves. Some people choose not to, and some people unknowingly they don't do it, not really having the knowledge of how society is affecting them and how they are going along with the plan. And sometimes when we're explaining it to people, it's like, you know, hard to process maybe, or maybe sometimes people just don't see themselves in that light. But I think that it's important to be able to understand how these trends work. It's important to understand how commercialism works. It's important to understand how we affect each other, because then we'll better understand what's going on in life, and then we're better able to navigate it successfully.
True.
So I guess here's a good question. How do you guys feel about, I know that society promotes a level of conformity. What do you guys feel about conformity?
You want this renegade first, or you want me to get it?
I gotta search that definition. Is kind of a big word to me. Conformity.
All right. Well, here's my
Would
take
you read
on
out the definition, actually, when you
Okay.
find it?
Compliance with standards, rules, or laws, behavior in accordance with socially accepted conventions or standards. Compliance with the that's a British definition. No need to read that then.
Sorry. All right, go ahead, Mike. What were you going to say?
Well, that goes back to why I wanted to cover what I covered in the pre-discussion, because when we talk about conformity, you got, as I said before, these different subgroups that want you to conform in certain ways. So then comes, which group are we actually covering that wants us to conform certain ways, or what element in like education or government, what element are we really discussing at that point? But I mean, I guess to cover all the bases, essentially, to get conformity will allow whatever subgroup that's putting that information out there for us to conform to better control of us. So,
How about you, Renegade? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Mike. Were you not
no,
done?
go ahead, Renegade.
No.
Nah, you
No,
get
no,
it.
no. I'm so sorry.
Nah, you all right. Go ahead, Renegade.
All pauses confuse me. Sorry, go ahead.
Trying to see if what I'm gonna say is gonna really match this conformity thing, but basically, I don't follow mainstream trending, if that's the thing, cause I follow, you know, like positive trendings, you could say, like, you know, intelligent trends and stuff like that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Cause I know, cause there's one thing I hate I hate how society be changing words from their original definition, like edgy. Edgy. The definition edgy means, you know, like tense, nervous, and irritable. But no, society changed it up to where it's like, I don't know, how can I describe this? I don't know, fourth grader say, "Oh, I stayed up 15 minutes late past my bedtime. I'm edgy," or something like that. Something stupid like that.
Edgy being like
Yeah.
somebody daring, somebody
Yeah.
who's not outside of the box. Yeah.
Yeah. Daredevil. Yeah, that's it. But no, edgy means, like I said, it means tense, nervous, and irritable. So yeah, in the kind of way, I'm kind of edgy because I do get irritable, which I'm trying to control.
Well, see, my thought when I was thinking about this subject, I was thinking about how, I was thinking mainly about like how, how some maybe Republicans will say, they have very conservative views and they believe in conforming to a certain lifestyle and different things. And I don't agree with absolutely every single aspect of that. But I, as a person who very dearly loves order, and I am a bit of a control freak if I'm being completely honest, but I can see how conformity brings unity in the light of, just like Mike was saying, different groups and stuff like that. But the main part of that is it is a group. It is a group with solidarity in one common goal. And I feel like to a degree, society requires that. We need that in the construct of what society is. It's important to have a level of conformity. There needs to be standards. There needs to be a level of what is right and what is wrong. There needs to be a certain standards of how we behave and treat each other. Conformity is a great thing when it's balanced and when it is, I don't want to say, when it's gone over with a fine-tooth comb and it's analyzed and it's like when it's been thoroughly looked through and perfected almost. When that's done, conformity is a great thing because unity is the answer to a whole lot of issues. And in that light, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about being hive-minded, how there can be great things in that, which is why it's one of our natural human instincts to be that way. But it's just mainly, it's not the conformity that's the problem. It's what are we conforming to?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Mike.
No, which is what I was going to speak about earlier, but go ahead.
No, I'm done.
But okay, so yeah, what I was about to say earlier, like, it allows a form of control over those who are conforming to it. But just as Bree just said, you have to then look at what are you conforming to. If that level of conformity, the elements that you are conforming to are efficient and positive, then it can be a good thing. But if those elements cause harm to the group itself, or that group, their elements cause harm to those around them, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
For instance, groups like the KKK, it's a group, but they harm black people. So, I mean, you got to look at things like that. What are we conforming to? And that's all I got to say on that.
It's extremely true. So then, I guess I have a question for the group, if that's all right. If we're, hold on, I wrote this down.
Okay.
What do you think that it takes to decide what we're conforming to, what to and what not to conform to? If conforming in itself is not a bad thing, it's on the basis of what we're conforming to. How do we make that decision?
Well, from my opinion, and just what I just said earlier, things that are efficient, one, and two, that do not harm the group or those outside the group. We don't want to be harmful to our surroundings. We don't want to be harmful to our environment. And we also want to do things such as, make our own food or start our own businesses and things like that without, and be efficient with it without, causing harm to those within the group or those around us to do what we are doing.
But what
Renegade?
made you
Oh,
come
go
to
ahead.
that decision?
What made me
Like,
come to that decision?
yeah, like what quality, I guess, in us do we have to make the decision of what standards? And it's coming to a point, but I just like I'm throwing
Oh,
it
I know.
out there.
I already seen it.
Oh, okay. Renegade, what about you?
Yeah, but I agree with Mike. Like I said, if it doesn't harm people, harm the environment, and it's efficient, I say, you know, like research, you know, the stuff that you can convert. I don't know how you say that word. Conform to, like, to see if it's bad or good. That's the thing. A lot of people are ignorant about a lot of things. Even I'm ignorant about a lot of things as well.
Well, that's actually exactly what my point was, and Mike, I know you caught it. It's the, are we knowledgeable? Are we arming ourselves? Do we have our own thoughts and feelings on these things? Are we using are we like looking and kind of finding things that make us passionate or give us conviction? Are we proving to ourselves what, you know, we believe in or what is right and wrong? But to do all of that and any of that, we have to be extremely self-aware. I feel like self-awareness is so important for human beings, and so many of us lack it. Self-awareness allows us to be humble. Self-awareness allows us to look at our lives through the perception of another. Self-awareness allows us to kind of look past our emotions and to see ourselves in a clearer light. And self-awareness, when it comes to society, will also help us to decide what I guess maybe what we're really seeing, what we're really feeling, what we're really experiencing, because society has a way of, like, you know, dusting glitter on things and making things look shiny and all that. But with self-awareness and really being aware of our surroundings and our thoughts and our feelings and the system that we live in, essentially, is crucial to us being able to make the decision as of, you know, what are we going to conform to? Who are we as people, as individuals? What do we like? What do we not like? And how we deal with things. And that was my point in asking that question. And I feel like if we're all doing that, you know, we will all be in the same group. Like Mike was talking about, you know, what groups to conform to. If we're all being self-thinkers and we're all, even though we have our own separate views, but we're respecting the views of others, there's no reason why we can't all be one group. And that's why, you know, if we conform to that type of thinking, that will bring unity. And with unity, it inevitably brings peace.
True.
And that's one thing that society is severely lacking. That was my point.
Anything, Renegade? Or you want me to add my little bit to that?
You can add a little bit to that. I'm trying to think of
Yeah. All right. But yeah, what you're saying is absolutely right. But just to add to it as well, you know, our self-awareness is also based upon the foundation that we are taught or brought up with, because each one of us views the world from the foundation that we were brought up on. For me, it's been a biblical sense. It comes from the element of knowing God, what God wants from me, who God is, and me taking those elements. That's my foundation. So that's why I see the world. That's what I see, you know, the changes need to be made to make it more efficient from. But everybody doesn't have that foundation. So that's what's going to keep us ununified as a group, because our foundations are so different. You know, some people are taught to hate a people because of their skin color. They are taught these people are this way. So without thinking, without that self-awareness, because their self-awareness comes from that foundation, which blinds them. They are going to see these people in a negative light automatically because from a child they were taught to do that. So that's what's going to keep us ununified. But you're exactly right. If we can get that self-awareness, if we can remove those barriers, we can actually be one group and still hold certain elements of ourselves without and removing those elements that harm others, as I was saying earlier.
And that's a very good point. I was thinking that one thing that I'm always thinking of is I'm very knowledgeable, I guess, in necessarily like I guess you want to say religious things. I don't know where I sit on that spectrum, but I can appreciate the practicality of the lessons in the Bible. And when I see like people and I'm like, there's the point being common ground, regardless what your foundation is. I feel like we can all understand practical knowledge, things that help us, things that benefit us, things that do, things that don't, what we should and what we shouldn't do that will make our lives good or bad. It's quite simple. I feel like if we could all get on that plane level, then I feel like everybody could say like, everybody just like, I feel like I said everybody really weird, but everybody can agree like maybe everybody deserves an education. There are those crackpots that are like, oh, just like you said, like, oh, black people don't deserve this. I say I was gonna make a joke, but I don't know if Renegade will take it as a joke, so never mind. But there are gonna be those loose ends like that. But I say we let them die off, and the future generations hopefully get better. But if like we all look at, if we go down to the simplest parts, and we're like, this is the common ground that we have, and work off that foundation, then I guess the foundations in which we came from can be irrelevant because it's not necessarily about where we've been, it's about where we're going. Again, I don't think people have the answers for that. And Michael, you're absolutely right. That's just ideally, I don't foresee it happening that way, but it would be great if it did, because that would be a huge step forward. And for society, to elevate society in general, because society is built up of people. So if people are elevated, society automatically gets an upgrade.
True.
But there's no money in the evolution of people, and I think that's the key to why society is so low right now. What do you think, Renegade?
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I really do. Gives me a lot of thought about that.
Renegade is just like, I think, and that kind of led to one of my main points. What do we think when we think of society? What do we think that society runs upon? Maybe. What do you think, Renegade? What do you think runs society?
Stupidity, but
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong at all. What about you, Mike?
What runs society? Different groups have their own individual motivators of what motivates them and runs them. So there's no one thing that runs society as a whole, as far as I can see, because everybody has a different element that they draw from that guides them. So there's no one answer.
I absolutely agree with that. When I was thinking about this, Renegade, I thought this was a great subject, first of all, that you came up with. Because it's something that we talk about, but I don't think it's something that we think about. But one thing that I thought about when I was thinking what runs society, what makes it tick, why does it not get better? What are its flaws? And it is the root of all evil, money. Because if, you know, if we're thinking realistically, who, you know, we talked about at the very beginning of this conversation that media and influences and I think even use social media as well, Renegade, they pretty much have the heaviest influence on society, along with, you know, governmental authority and all that. But even what runs politics, it's money, and the people who have the money are the ones, and their pursuit of making more is what really runs this system of society. And because it's about, you know, profit over people, that society has found itself in such a devastating state. And food for thought, you know, for people, especially young people, you know, I try and, like, when I'm thinking about making decisions in life and different things like that, I always think about, you know, in its simplest terms, it's one or the other. And when it comes to society, it's really thinking, what's more important, people or profit, money or man? You know, what matters most? Are money or my morals as a person? So I think that that's something that people need to think about, because if people think about that, then, you know, maybe not everyone, but someone, you know, someone who's not thinking about it now will take a step back and really evaluate what it is that they're doing in society and how they personally can make it better. Because one person doing one thing adds one step forward for society.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of these people do not realize that these mainstream companies do not care about people. They only care about the money. When I say they make, yeah, that's all I got. I can't think of nothing else. So what you guys want to do? Y'all want to end it right there, or y'all just want to do like some free discussion thing?
I just got
I did
one
have,
last message. Let Bree
yeah,
go
go ahead,
first.
Mike.
Yeah, right.
No,
No,
you go
please.
first.
Are you sure? Because I feel like I've
Yeah,
been
go ahead.
dominating this conversation. I'm so sorry.
No.
But I just have one last thing. And I was thinking of society's ideology of what certain things are, as far as like what's beautiful. I feel like this is a huge thing because beauty sells, sex sells, different things like that. But it has a deeper hold on the individuals inside of society, because they see people all glammed up, thinking that that's how they look every day, and put on a pedestal and idolized, and then they look at themselves in their mirrors in the morning, in the night, whatever, and they feel subpar. They feel like they're not enough. And that is another disease in the society, how we, you know, how society as a whole will put certain people, because they look a certain way or because they can do a certain thing, on a pedestal, and make those who don't look that way or aren't able to do those things feel lesser of themselves. Now, you know, it's important, I guess my point being, if I'm gonna completely shorten it up, we as society need to, you know, focus on uplifting people as well, because, you know, people are what makes society. And if society is just like the 1% then the 99, like that's not balanced. That's very uneven, and that includes beauty standards. And I feel like, you know, understanding, apart with our individualism and being self-aware and thinking for ourselves and different things like that, we also need to understand that each and every one of us has something to offer society, has something to offer the world. Each and every one of us is beautiful, even if it may not be physical. I think my neuropsychologist said it best, is that the thing that makes a person attractive is not how they look. It is the depth of their wisdom. It is the depth of their understanding and their intellectual reach. Because even a person who is butt fugly can, like, they're beautiful because when they speak and when they act and when they treat people a certain way, you see their heart. And a heart, you can't look at it through a person's chest, but you can feel it. You can feel the energy from it. You can hear it from their words. You can, you can experience it from their actions. So being on one side, being, understanding that there's value in absolutely every single person and absolutely every single thing, and then also understanding that we need to be careful that we don't allow society and their standards to their off skewed standards, by the way, or their skewed standards, I'm sorry, to affect how we judge others and how we look at things. How we need to all have our own beauty standards. I think Mike is a perfect example. Mike thinks whatever he thinks is beautiful, and it doesn't even matter what the next person thinks, but what's beautiful to him is beautiful. And I think that each and every one of us need to use that as an example, and like so.
Yes.
Ooh. Man, get it then.
You like that, huh? Yeah, I came in with it, Mike. Hey, sorry. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I just got one last thing to say.
Go for it.
Keep it short and simple. And this is just my opinion. So, and I honestly believe that money has never been the root of all evil. A lot of people believe that, but evil has existed before money ever existed. People have been killing and harming each other out of pure hatred and evil long before any type of gold or silver was ever even discovered to make currency from. It's the true root for me, honestly, is the weakness in each one of us. When you have a beautiful woman at your side, you married to this person, you dedicate yourself to this person, then you have this thing called lust, and then this other woman shows up and lust tempts you. If you are a weaker individual, you will then cheat on your woman. That's the weakness in you. When you have hatred within yourself, or hatred tempts you, and you go and harm or murder or whatever to another individual, that's the weakness in you, that you didn't have that self-control, which, of course, as Bree said before, is about self-awareness. If you understand who you are, understand your strengths and weaknesses, you wouldn't fall for all these pitfalls and all of these temptations as we do this day. So the weaknesses in us, they put money up here and speak as if it's so much. But in the same sense, they said years ago that there was no gold to even back our dollar anymore. So the dollar was basically an IOU, yet you still flock after it. You flock after something with no backing. The coins in our pocket, the coins in our pocket have more value than our dollar bill, but you will put that dollar bill up above those coins. See, and as I said, and I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up, like Bree said, I'm getting emotional about this because it bothers me. It's us. We need to work on us, because that's where the true weakness lies. And that's all I gotta say.
That's extremely true. I changed my money is the root of all evil to that. That's my answer.
Yeah, because the real quote is I think it's called the love, or not the greed, or something like that.
Love of money, which is essentially greed.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's that love of money that is the weakness too. So it brings it back full circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn, Mike. Jesus. That's a good fucking point. Alright, we gonna end it right there, Renegade. I can't top that.
Alright, thank you for listening to the podcast. Remember, it's your boy Renegade X, the one that you love to hate. We out of here. Hey, yeah, I'm talking to you. If you like the content on this channel, why don't you subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when I upload? And if you like gaming content, go to my gaming channel, Renegade X Gaming, and do the same thing on there. Remember, it's Renegade X, the one that you love to hate.